Hi guys, in today's video we are going to focus on manipulation, right? So here's the first question that we are going to attempt. Right, so we're given s it's equal to n over 2 times open bracket 2a plus the square root of d, and they're asking us to make d the subject of the formula, right? So now what's the first step from this? We need to write this in a simpler form, right? So from here it's going to be s it's equal to n over 2 times 2a plus the square root of d over 1. So now what's going to happen here? If we apply the fraction rule that says we multiply the numerator by the numerator and the denominator by the denominator. So we're going to have s it's equal to n 2a plus the square root of d divided by 2. So now the next step is for us to get rid of the fraction. So the only way that we can do that is for us to multiply both sides by 2. So we can say times 2 times 2. So that's going to be 2s, it's equal to n 2a plus the square root of d. So now what's the next step from here? Okay, so we're going to divide both sides by n. So 2s divided by n, it's 2a plus the square root of d. Now it's even it looks clear now, right? So we can take this 2a to the left hand side because there's an addition sign, therefore we do not need to divide. So we can say 2s over n minus 2a, it's equal to square root of d. So now how do we get rid of the square root? Right, we'll show you in a second. So it's n 2a. So a square root is equivalent to a half, right? So now the way that we can get rid of the square root, we are going to raise both sides by the inverse of the original fraction. So this means that we're going to multiply by 2 over 1. And also this side we're going to multiply. So if we multiply both sides by 2 over 1, here they will cancel out. Now on the left side we're going to have 2s over n minus 2a squared, it's equal to d. Now that's your final answer. So this is how we can manipulate d. So try to understand the steps that we took. Try to see where you need some help on, or what you understand or what you don't understand. Now let us try another question. Let's say that we have f it's equal to 1 over a squared of cx plus v. Now we need x to be the subject of the formula, right? So what's the first thing that we're going to do? We're going to shift this. So it's going to be f minus v, it's equal to 1 over a square root of cx, right? So now from here we can multiply both sides by this, right? So we're going to have f minus v, it's equal to 1, right? So you're multiplying both sides, so it's a square root of cx. Since we're multiplying both sides by a square root of cx. So now what can we do from here? We are going to divide both sides by a f minus v. So we're going to divide both sides by minus v. So this will cancel this and this will cancel this. So now we're left with the square root of cx. It's equal to 1 over a f minus v. So from here we need to get rid of the square root, right? So it's going to be cx a half, right? So we're going to raise both sides by the inverse of the original fraction. So now this means that we multiply by 2 over 1. So these will cancel out, right? So we're going to have 1 over a f minus v squared, right? And then so we have a cx, it's equal to 1 over a f minus v squared. So we divide both sides by c. So x, it's equal to 1 over a f minus v squared, it's divided by c. So that's how we can manipulate our x. Right, so now let's try to look at another example that we can do. Let's just do this. Okay, let's look at f plus h. It's equal to square root of x squared plus 5b squared. So now from here, what do we need, right? So we need x to be the subject of the formula, right? Okay, so the first step that we're going to do, we need to get rid of the square root, right? So we have f plus h, right? X squared plus 5b squared, that's half. So we're going to raise both sides by the inverse of the original fraction. So that's going to give us f plus h squared. It's x squared plus 5b squared. So that's f squared plus h squared, x squared plus 5b squared. Now it looks even simple like this. So now from here, we need to shift this 5b squared to the left hand side. So we have f squared plus h squared minus 5b squared. It's equal to x squared. So now how do we remove the square, right? We do the same thing that we did to remove the square root. We are going to raise both sides by the inverse of the original. So we have 2 over 1. That means we're going to say 1 over 2. So these will cancel out, and this side is going to be f squared plus h squared minus 5b squared 1 over 2 is equal to x. Now remember, a half is equivalent to a square root. So we can say that it's a square root of f squared plus h squared minus 5b squared is equal to x. So this is how we can manipulate. So you need to try to understand how we can remove a square root, how we can remove a square, how we are shifting from the left to the right, why we're dividing. Those are the basic steps that you need to understand, because that's exactly what we were doing: dividing, shifting, changing from a square root. All of those basic things you need to understand. So let's look at another question. Let's say that we have f, it's equal to 1 over 2 pi a square root of LC, and they're asking us to make C the subject of the formula. So the first thing that we're going to do, we're going to multiply both sides by 2 pi square root of LC. So it's going to be 2 pi a square root of LC times f is equal to 1. So now we divide by the terms we do not need. So we do not need 2 pi f, right? So you're going to say 2 pi f and 2 pi f. So it's going to give us a square root of LC 1 over 2 pi f, right? So now from here, we have to remove the square root, right? So do you remember how we can remove the square root? Right. We're going to raise both sides by the inverse of the original. So it's going to be multiplied by 2 over 1, right? So this side will cancel out. So on the right hand side, we're going to have 1 over 2 pi f, right, squared. So now from here, we can say that it's C, LC is equal to 1 over 2 pi f squared. Now you can square this, everything is still okay, or you can just leave it like this. So C, it's equal to 1 over 2 pi f squared divided by L. So this is your final answer. This is how you can manipulate. So in N2, you just need to understand the basic of how we can remove a fraction, how we can remove a square root, how we can shift from the left to the right and why we're shifting, how you can get rid of a square. Those are the basic things you need. So on N2, you won't be converting from exponential to logs or anything in your manipulation. You won't be using any logs in N2. So this is basically what you will be focusing on when it comes to manipulation in N2. Now let us look at another example. Let's say that we have b is equal to a square root of p over kx, right? So how do we remove the square root? Right, so we're going to say b is equal to p over kx. a half. So you're going to raise both sides by the inverse of the original fraction. So it's going to give us p squared, it's equal to p over kx, right? So let's multiply both sides by kx, right? So it's going to be p squared kx, it's equal to p. So we'll cancel out. So we are going to divide by the terms we do not need, which is b squared and k. So it's going to be b squared k, b squared k. So now this means that x is equal to p over b squared k. You see, these questions are repeating themselves in the form of you shifting, in the form of you removing a square root, how to deal with a fraction. You understand? Those are the basic things you need to understand. So now let's look at another question. Let's say that we have a is equal to 1 over a square root of 1 minus b squared. So first we're going to multiply by 1 minus b squared, right? And the square root of this, so it's a square root of 1 minus b squared multiplied by a. It's equal to 1. Divide both sides by a, so we have a square root of 1 minus b squared. It's equal to 1 over a. We're dividing both sides by a. So from here we need to get rid of the square root, right? So it's going to be 1 minus b squared, right, half a. So we're going to multiply, we're going to raise both sides by the inverse of the original fraction, which is 2 over 1. So that's going to give you 1 minus b squared. It's equal to 1 over a squared. Now from here, since we want we want b to be the subject of the formula, right? So if you want b to be the subject of the formula, we need to get rid of this, right? So we're going to say negative b squared, it's equal to 1 over a squared, right, plus 1. So from here, we do not need this negative here, so we're going to divide both sides by 1. So if we divide both sides by 1, then it means that we have b squared, it's equal to a negative of 1 over a squared plus 1, right? So now to get rid of this square, you're going to multiply or raise both sides of the equation by the inverse, right? So we have 2 over 1, and it's going to give us 1 over 2. And it's going to be negative 1 over a squared, right, plus 1 half. So b, this will cancel out. So b is equal to a square root of negative 1 over a squared plus 1. So that's your final answer. So this is basically how we can deal with manipulation in N2. You just have to understand if you're having a square root, how you can remove that square root. If you have a square, how you can remove that square. Those are the basic things that you need to understand. Now let us look at the last question that we are going to do. Let's say that we have 3 over x, it's equal to a minus 5 over y, and they want y to be the subject of the formula. So since we have an addition sign in between them, right, and we want y to be the subject of the formula, let's just remove a, right? So it's going to be 3x minus a is equal to 5y over y. So from here we can multiply both sides by y, right? So this is going to be y, right, 3 over x minus a, it's equal to negative 5. So we can divide both sides by all of this since we're looking for y, right? So y is equal to negative 5. It's divided by 3 over x minus a. You're done. So this is how we can manipulate in N2. You won't be using any logs. This is just basically what you'll be doing. Shifting from side to side, multiplying fractions, using converting square, converting a square root. Those are the things that you are going to be doing. You won't be using any logs or anything. It's basically this. So try to understand how to convert all of this. And if you do have any questions, please do hit the comment section and let me know. I will explain everything. And thank you for watching the video. Please do remember to subscribe to my channel for more videos. Thank you for watching. I'm out.